Caitlin Clark, Saudi League. Is she going to play Project B or she's going to stay in the WNBA? Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, Congress wants a briefing. If they want the briefing from the WNBA as well, we'll talk about that and more today on the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. Folks, Money Mike's going to give you the flip side. I always told you there's two sides of the coin. And what's happened now, Project B has lit a fire. Everybody's talking about Project B, Project B, Project B. Well, if you look at it, $2 million, well, that's what the WNBA is offering you now today, right? With the compensation you can make, and you can make additional money. Now, here's the thing that really gets me, folks, and a lot of people say a lot of things and do a lot of things. One thing I can tell you about Project B, to do what they want to do in 1 year's time, that's a monumental task to be able to do that. I don't believe that it's there. Now, of course, with me, you're going to get some parables. So the enemy's going to approach you and says, this is what you can have. Folks, you got to look at a couple things. Overseas, living conditions. You got to look at who's coaching. You've got to look at who's on the team. What barriers do you have to break down? Because the incentive for the WNBA and the NBA, they've been doing business with the Saudis for a long time. They've been doing business with the Saudis for a long time. So it's not the first time. But to have someone who is a representative of the Players Association to join the league, folks, I told you a long time ago that half the players in this league won't be here. Now, here's a scenario. You can take the Project B. We'll be happy for you to take. In fact, we will assist you. The WNBA will assist you to go into Project B and the 66 players. Because what we're going to do is replace the 66 with players that want to be in the WNBA and who want to be able to grow with the WNBA. Because at the end of the day, Project B is really meaningless, absolutely meaningless to what's taking place today with the first and second year players, as Caitlin Clark is a second year player. Is Caitlin Clark going to play in the Saudi League? No. Right? Because unless the NBA and the WNBA are partners in that league, there's no need. Is Asia Wilson, junior WNBA ambassador, going to go play in the Saudi League? There's no reason to. The money that they're going to pay you is the money they're going to pay the WNBA players. Now, here's the bad deal with Agumake. And Agumake's got a lot of bad deals going around her. And for Seattle, boy, that's Seattle. I'm going to tell you, that one's a mess. Because, I look at Agumake, who comes in there, 35 years old. I mean, come on, what are we really trying to accomplish? Because you dropped everything, your positioning of the leadership. You dropped everything to say money. I'm going to take the money. But you have a problem with Nigeria. I started thinking about this, and then I said, Dominique Mulanga has a problem with France. Why? Now, Adam's got to go in there and fix that, and he's got to get that turned around. But the problems you're creating, I'm telling you, folks, they'd rather have these players who want to go play, right? Because here's where the whole division's going to come up. They're only taking 66. There's 150 players in the league. So basically, the 66 get in and the other players don't, and they fend for themselves. That's why this thing's going to be a hot mess. But it's going to come down to whoever wants to play in the WNBA can play in the WNBA. The WNBA is going to be a very profitable league. And I'll tell you this, secondary, once you leave, here's where it goes. Now, not for Caitlin. Caitlin is really a global ambassador. She's all over the world now. But once you leave the WNBA platform, you will never be the same. The golfers who went over there and have taken extra money to play over in the Saudi League, they don't have the viewership. They don't have the American soil watching that. And that's where you got to be cautious, because now you're getting into something that's going to get in a little deeper. And as you said, with Congress, who wants a briefing from Adam Silver, who has delivered, the WNBA is going to be right behind that. It just, they're synonymous. It's almost like congratulations, Asia Wilson and Bam on getting married. It's a synonymous. They're together. But what you got here is that it's a form of attrition, okay? And really, when you're dealing billionaires, business folks, they don't really come. They want you gone. They want you out the league. You're a problem child for us. It would be a blessing. The WNBA owners are saying if Agumake wasn't in this league, it would be a blessing. Because you're not here to help the players. See, the minute you go over and take the money, that means you never cared about all those who are coming up behind you. And that's a problem, okay, because now you're forgetting about the youth, the kids, the journey. Everything that you said you built this league to be, you're going to vacate it to go get some money. That's going to be a hard stance to take because the WNBA is moving forward. And I'll tell you, with or without you, the WNBA is going to move forward, folks. And I want you to understand what Money Mike is saying. Because on the flip side of the coin, they want these players out the league. The players who you will see jump up and talk and celebrate Project B, those are the players they want out of the WNBA. I don't have to name names. I don't have to tell you anything. I'm just going to tell you that they want them out of the WNBA, and here's why. The players that are making the most noise regarding the CBA, they're not growing the game of women's basketball. Project B is not going to grow the game of women's basketball. It's not going to grow the WNBA. The WNBA is looking to make its next leap into the future. Folks, this is not a 1 year by plan or a year by year plan. It's a 5, 10, 15-year plan to eventually get to the maximum capacity of teams. And the players will be compensated fairly and above equitable in bonuses and different avenues of the WNBA and the WNBA platform. The investors are here to walk away from AT&T, to walk away from Disney, to walk away from Amazon, to walk away from Google. Okay, these are the names to walk away from Disney. This is the chance you're taking to say that I can go make money. If you're that player that wants to make money, then the WNBA has no value to you. And the WNBA is willing to allow you to go and make as much money as you would like to make because the players that work and play in the WNBA will be ambassadors on U.S. soil. Folks, I only tell you this because forms of attrition and the billionaires, the way they play ball, Project B, I say good luck on that because here's what's going to happen. You have no idea what you're going into. You have no idea where you're living. You have no idea who's coaching. You don't know anything except a dollar amount. And the enemy will put you on the mountaintop and show you can have everything you can see, and that's what the players have done. And now the WNBA owners, like I said, it's just like playing poker, folks, at the end of the day. I mean, the owners are holding the cards. The owners have a better hand than the players. The players have fumbled the ball because here's why, right? Now, if you were going to do Gumake, and they were united, and they were going to do exactly what she has done of becoming a member of Project B, you would have walked out. Once you walk out, we're going to walk out. We're out. No problem. We can't get what we want. We're out. Now you go make the announcement. But you don't do the 30-day extension, and then you're going to say, I'm going to go over here to a new league, and there's other players signed to the new league after you've returned, and Collier's told us that the WNBA, the NBA, and the WNBA don't want their players signed to a league. And in actuality, at the end of the day, a professional player's got a right to go play wherever they want, right? But then you got to figure it out and say, well, you know, everybody's not built for the WNBA. The players who have played in the WNBA for the past 10, 15 years, they're not prepared to play in the new WNBA. And that's not going to be a welcoming experience because they've already been scoring. They feel they've been less misled. So in their eyes of opinion, yes, can they go play and make more money than they would have made in the NBA? Yes, because the NBA is not paying those players. I want you to understand what Money Mike is saying. The players that are going to go play in Project B, they don't have the value, and the NBA is not going to pay them that amount of money. But the rookies who are coming in and behind, yes, the NBA are willing to pay them because they're bringing brands and they're bringing a whole growth of women's basketball. Does that fit Caitlin Clark? I really feel Caitlin Clark should have her own representation. Caitlin Clark really doesn't need to be a part of the union because none of this benefits Caitlin. It just benefits the players who want to try to go in there and strong arm the billionaires. But you can't. They're not going to allow that to happen. And for them, at the end of the day, they've given you a fair offer. A fair offer, more money than you've ever made in the last 30 years, and you turned it down, and now you slap me in the face when I'm in the middle of Congress. Well, at the end of the day, they'll get through Congress. That's going to happen, folks. That's how it works. But at the end of the day, the WNBA players, this is going to be another form of attrition because we want you out the league. I'm telling you, they don't want Agou McKay in the league. She may think she can play in this league. They don't want you in the league anymore. And all those who are causing and saying all the negative about the league, they don't want you in this league anymore. And that's a fact of life. Because what's happened now is the players, and we went through the conflict of interest. I knew that 2 years ago. I said, this doesn't make any sense. How can you be representing two? And for here on the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast, we'll tell you it's my opinion. But when it turns to truth, I'm giving it to you way in advance. And here's the facts of the matter. I'm letting you know now, this is another form of attrition. The players that go play in Project B, the WNBA is going to say, congratulations, you're paid well. Your services are no longer needed here in the WNBA. And that's just a fact of life. You got to live with that as a person, as a human being, and as someone who has played this game professionally. You have a right to go wherever you want to go play. Now, here's a flip side of this. When you're playing in the WNBA, you must also understand this. If you hate the WNBA and it's done wrong for so much, for so long, here's what I'm going to tell you should do. You should leave. You should leave the WNBA because here's an employer that you have that you're not satisfied with, and they're not going to change. We're not just going to pay you more money because you caused us too much damage control. The WNBA is running around trying to fix all the fires, and for the life of me, for officials, right, this is a thing, and claiming to get injuries from officials, folks, that's far-fetched. That's like saying if a center fielder and a left fielder collided, guess what? Well, it's the umpire's fault. No, it's not. The one's got to take the short angle, one's got to take the long angle. For the WNBA to stop injuries, you got to play better fundamental basketball. Because there's no way, I mean, even in the NFL, folks, what happens is you go in the line of fire all the time. The DBs know the linemen are there. You've got to be more discipline to play the game of basketball. I think the fouls will go away because the fouls that have been called was by the existing players who have played in this league for a while. It's not by the new players who are coming in, and not by the sophomores who have been here getting ready to be third-year players. It's for the existing players who have been playing in this league for a long time. I wanted to tell you that because at the end of the day, I think Caitlin Clark should just represent Caitlin Clark. And at the end of the day, I think Juju Watkins should represent Juju Watkins, right? I mean, some of these ladies just need to represent themselves because here's what's going to happen. You can get associated with the wrong individual. That's what I'm talking about, Dominique Malonga. A rookie comes from France, and all of a sudden she's got problems back home with France. But coincidentally, you got Agou McKay, who's leading players, has a problem with Nigeria. So both players are kicked out, right? How did that happen? That means there's a problem in Seattle, right? Players leaving. There's a problem. In fact, they should just move the team out of Seattle because Seattle's like a bad apple. If anything goes up there to Seattle, it's all bad, right? And these are facts, folks. I'm not really coming to you sharing anything that you don't know. But the Project B, to me, is a distraction. It's meaningless. To do what they say they're going to do in the amount of time they have to do it is virtually impossible. There could be delays. You have nowhere to know where you're playing. I mean, you're just flying over there and say, we're going to play in China and Asia. I mean, for the sake of what, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. You're paying you the same amount of money to stay here. And if you can't see that, then it is time for you to go. And that's how it usually ends up. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. And folks, it's my opinion, right? And at the end of the day, for Caitlin Clark, nah, I don't see it. I really don't. It's not even, there's no value in it to take someone who's the largest assets, global ambassador of women's sports, and send her over to play basketball in the Saudi league? The Saudis over here helping boxing. There's no doubt about it. Emeralds, the Saudis are already in the WNBA, so there's a partnership there. But the boxing they're doing on American soil. If the Saudis want to do a league, they should do it on American soil. That becomes more of a competitive threat. But having a league that's going to be internationally miles away, that's not even going to be having the viewership because it's not going to be shown in a competitive threat on the U.S. soil, on all the networks that we have, you're going to disappear very quickly. And what the platform that really made you who you are today that you are discounting, now you're not even going to be in existence. And that's what's going to happen, folks. Money Mike can give it to you. It's like the poker game in the NBA where they were looking at the hand. Well, I'm looking at everybody's hand, okay? And when I do this, folks, I look and say, okay, well, what does the WNBA want to do? They want to give players a good salary and they want to give compensation. What does Saudi want to do? We want to give you a flat $2 million, just come over. But we don't have the viewership. So who's going to be watching that? Who's going to be watching you play? Nobody, right? And if you look at the numbers for where it happened with golf, nobody's going to be watching that. You're not boxers. You're not in a fight. So I leave it at that. The distraction was we got a ProjectB. Good luck, right? I mean, you got, why not? Why not, right? Because it's all existent. It's all air. You have no CBA agreement. You have nothing. They're going to fly you over and tell you to play in 2 cities. You don't even know the languages. And I don't see it. I think it's a distraction. I don't think it's a true factor. And I think the WNBA and the NBA are going to have to come together and move on. Now, Money Mike's a strong advocate to tell you, those who want to play in the WNBA, it's going to come down to this. Come forward and play in the WNBA. And those who don't want to come forward and play for what we're willing to pay you, those have an opportunity going over to ProjectB, knock yourself out, and we thank you for all your time and service that you've given us here at the WNBA. It's billionaire business, Titan business, folks. We're not going to get rattled because you got a league over there that's non-existent, and this league has been here for 30 years. Imagine that, folks. Imagine that. I'm going to tell you that you can go here, which doesn't exist, and I'm going to say you can come right here for something that's been here for 30 years and grow and develop and make a name for yourself on U.S. soil. You pick and choose. But this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. All things are possible to those who believe. Like I said, it's just a distraction. We'll see you soon.